If you're learning Chinese or any other language to expand your career opportunities, or maybe you just want to travel to, or maybe move to a Chinese-speaking area or country, then this video is for you. 谢谢。Trust me, I know exactly how it feels to have that unfair advantage after learning languages because I was able to boost my income to six-figure within, I think around 6 to 8 months right after I quit my 8 hours a day corporation job. But since you're watching this video here, I'm sure you have this question in your heart. Including Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Arabic, these languages are category 5 languages, which means they are extremely hard to learn at the beginning. So, how do we start? If you're new here, my name is James. As a government certified language teacher in China who is also running a language learning studio with my wife, Emily, I'm here to share with you the exact ways that I master my Mandarin, Cantonese, and English. By the way, for those who thought Mandarin and Cantonese are the same language, for example, if you can speak one of the languages and you can automatically speak the other one, it's actually not, totally not, okay? I had this question to myself when I was really young. I said, what's the point of learning this useless language? I don't think I would ever have a chance to talk to any foreigners in my life anyway. This is actually when people fail learning a new language at the first place, is not having a purpose. Because you think about this, if you don't have a purpose, what's the reason for you to be consistent? There's no reason. So here comes my first tip, is to find your purpose. Either is to increase your income, or maybe you just want to travel, whatever it is, find a purpose. For example, my wife and I are going to Japan for a short vacation next month. I think this is a perfect reason for us to pick up a new language, right? Now, after finding a purpose, some friends will say, okay lah, I do whenever I have time. Wait, what do you mean whenever you have time? When you're driving, when you're taking a bus, or when you're going to a washroom? So here comes my second suggestion. When you really want to do something, make sure you plan your schedule and you block time window just for learning the new language. So during your study section, make sure to turn your cell phone or computer to DND mode, which stands for Do Not Disturb. And then you grind it hard. So some friends might ask the question, how much time do I need to spend on learning a new language every day? My suggestion is to have 2 hours every day at least, and of course, the more the better. But I know some of you guys might be just the same as me, who has family, who has a lot of work to do, and you don't have 2 hours a day. That's totally fine. What I'm saying is, you really need to be consistent because learning a new language, as a lot of people say, it's a marathon instead of a sprint. But I also like to call this or describe this as going up a staircase. When you're first beginning learning a new language, it's always a plateau, flat out like this. After maybe a few weeks to 1 month, then you will start seeing your progress, right? You will take a step up. And then here will be a plateau again for I don't know how many weeks or maybe 1 month. And then you will see another big progress, big jump. So this is really going to be time consuming, so make sure to set your schedule. Okay, now 60 days is kind of short. So you can't just learn everything, right? For example, all the writing, all the characters, pronunciations, all the little details, grammar. But instead, you have to pick your battlefield wisely. This is saying in Chinese, 把钱用在刀刃上, which means you spend your time and money wisely on whatever is needed the most. So this is my tip number 3. Pick your topics. For example, Emily and I are going to Japan, right? As I just mentioned. So we will be needing the language materials when we go to a hotel or when we take public transport. Or let's say going to the airport or going to shops, restaurants. So we will specifically look for materials within these topics. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now, you might want to ask, do I have to start from zero, from scratch? Because, for example, Chinese characters, it has, certain ways to do the writings, right? And also a lot of grammars too. Do I need to start from scratch? My opinion is no. For example, you can just jump to the most basic vocabularies, sentences, phrases that you will need, unless you're taking standardized exams such as HSK. So, oh, by the way, Emily and I are going to take a challenge, which we will learn Japanese in the shortest amount of time, and then we'll try to speak Japanese only when we go there. So I would document the journey, and if you're interested, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button down below. 谢谢您的支持. Now we've got plans, we set up a time to practice, but there's a very common mistake when people learn a new language. That is, people always pick the raw materials that is not suitable for their language proficiency level. So the number 4 tip is to pick the right materials. And there are 2 things to look at. The first thing is to make sure it's not too easy or not too hard. So basically whatever makes you feel comfortable. I like to call that L+1. So L means your current language proficiency level, and +1 means you pick the materials that's a little bit more challenging but not too crazy. Now you are so ready to begin. So how do we actually practice? Do we buy books or do we use apps? And what kind of books or apps do we need to get? So here comes my tip number 5 for you. If you're taking standardized exams such as HSK, then you definitely need to get books because you do need a very systematic grammar structure and vocabulary in order to pass those exams. If that's the case, for example, HSK 标准教程 is for you. Otherwise, a laptop and an iPad are all you need. But this video is not going to focus on a standardized test. So it's just for people like me who wants to pick up a second language or third language fairly quickly, right? So my tip number 6 is I would suggest you to pick anything that helps you to practice shadowing method. So the shadowing method is actually very simple. You just listen to the audio and then you just mimic the audio sentence by sentence. So for example, I am a brand new learner in Japanese, and I'm going to pick an app that has the basic foundation of the language, teach me how to say hello, thank you, how are you, goodbye, where is blah blah blah, right? But also I would be very happy if this app has the option for me to pick the topics. For example, I like to learn all the sentences and vocabularies when I go to a hotel. However, I personally haven't tried anything to learn Chinese yet. And if you guys know any apps that you would like to recommend, please comment down below and let us know, okay? Thank you very much. Now, you've learned some basic of the language. The second thing I will suggest you to do is to pick something with a lot of speaking and listening practice, and maybe just a little bit of reading involved. So, dramas about our daily life will be a perfect option. When I was learning English, I picked Friends and also Modern Family. Oh, and by the way, I love Modern Family the best. It's literally my favorite show actually. But in terms of Chinese dramas, I would recommend iPartments and Home with Kids. I've watched them both and perfect dramas to learn Chinese. But the difference is Home with Kids has more of a Beijing accent, which involves a lot of curl tongue sound, whereas iPartment doesn't. Which one is more commonly used? It really depends which region you're going to. For example, if you go to the northern part of China, people use more curl tongue accents. But when you go to the south part of China, usually people don't. For example, in my city, Shenzhen, I barely hear anyone using curl tone accents unless this person is from the northern part of China. But if you want to learn Cantonese, then I would recommend Quoth and What. You know, great things about watching dramas is that not only you can learn the language itself, right? But more importantly, you get to know about the culture. Actually, a lot of people have this question. For example, their jokes. You will realize those funny parts and logic behind those jokes from different culture are so different. And that's why a lot of English speakers couldn't understand Chinese jokes at the very beginning. And of course, vice versa. And here are a few things to do while watching. And this is also my tip number 7 for you. I know watching drama has so much fun, but you need to make sure to take notes of those vocabularies and mimic those sentences and vocabularies as many times as possible, because a lot of time, including me, I'll be like, haha, this is so much fun, and I totally forgot about taking notes. And then, you know, what happened was I just watched one episode after another one, after another one, after another one. And this is a huge mistake, okay? And also a waste of time. So don't do it. The reason why I don't like having a language exchange buddy is because I tried this once and then I realized one thing. If I didn't prepare my materials, just like preparing materials for a class, and both of us will end up talking about random things or things we've known already over and over again, which doesn't really help much in terms of, building up a second language or a third language. So in my opinion, if I want to do a session with my language exchange buddy, I would have to prepare materials for the other person. And the other person, in order for me to learn, I would also like to ask them to prepare materials for me instead of just talking about random stuff. And to me, that's a little bit too time consuming. So I tried a few times and I stopped. But of course, if you want to find a language exchange buddy, I would highly recommend you guys to prepare materials for the session so that both of you will spend that 30 minutes or maybe 1 hour more efficiently. And the next tip I want to give is to be consistent. There is a book called Atomic Habits, and this book actually works for many people with ADHD who have hard time staying focused and consistent. There was one particular tip that I really love, and I've been using this since a few years ago. It's super helpful, and that is break your task into many smaller steps. So for example, I'm going to the gym, but I feel tired. I will be just telling myself, hey, you know what, James, it's okay. Just grab your bag and go to the doorstep. The second you go to the doorstep, and you'll be thinking, oh, I'm outside already. Hey, you know what? Why don't we just take the elevator and go downstairs? And after you go downstairs, you'll be thinking, that's easy. You know what? Why don't I just hop on my car and then just drive to the gym? What I'm saying is, when you think about a big task, you're always giving yourself that mental burden that, oh my God, this is too much work. This is too time consuming. I'm exhausted. But after you break it down, you will see the difference. It's actually really, really helpful. So I highly suggest you guys to do that. And the second thing that helped me to stay consistent is I like to document things, right? For example, every time I go to the gym, I like to take a photo of myself to see if I'm losing some weight or am I gaining some muscles, right? And I also share those pictures with my wife, so she helps me to discipline myself. Okay, so if you're up to this point already and have found this video helpful, I would be really appreciative if you can hit that subscribe button, and hopefully you will have a successful learning journey. And if you have any questions along the way, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section, okay? I'll try to get back to you as early as possible. All right, I'll see you until next time.